Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to my session today. Okay, so today we are going to discuss chapter 16. But before that, we have some doubts with respect to chapter 15. We have received some doubts and we'll first uh, discuss those doubts. Yeah. Okay, so good evening Devraj, good evening Viraj, good evening Rashmita, Charu, good evening Mancha. Okay, so there is one doubt with respect to page 5.11. Okay, over here. Okay. It states subject matter refers to information condition that is major or related against parental. Okay. uh, Subject matter. Now, doubt here is that with respect to the subject matter. Okay, I'll explain what is this and what is the criteria that is being discussed over here. See, remember when we saw some reports, we were talking about subject matter being evaluated. Like we saw some reports that okay, some projects were evaluated based on some policies, guidelines, and all those things. So here, when I talk about the subject matter can be my program. For example, if I give you an example, let's say urban or rural water development schemes. Okay. Now, criteria. What is the criteria? Criteria is kind of the policies and procedures against which I will evaluate the subject matter. Means so subject matter was supposed to deliver water, means the program was supposed to deliver the water in these many villages. Okay, that was the subject matter. Okay, whether the water is being delivered, quality water, appropriate water quantity. Remember, we saw in yesterday's example, in last lecture's example, that okay, we are talking about appropriate quantity and quality of water. So that is the subject matter. Now, criteria is the policies, guidelines, or any such basically benchmark that is given or issued by the government or issued by anyone which is here the will be called an authority. Uh basically they provide whether what was the outcome, or whether the outcome is appropriate or not. For example, let's say in 20 villages the water was supposed to be there. In 20 villages water was supposed to be there. That was the guidelines, that was the policy or the program basically. Okay, so that was the mission basically behind developing this scheme. Now in actual it has only reached to 18 villages. So the 20 is the benchmark, 20 is the criteria against which the 18 subject matter I'm evaluating. And it's not that simple comparison of the numbers. There are multiple factors in the benchmark: quality, quantity, a lot of things are there. Okay, impact, reach, a lot of things, utilization of resources, timeliness, numerous things are there which are then evaluated. So that is a criteria and that is a subject matter. And then comes the subject matter information, outcome of evaluating, measuring the subject matter against the criteria. Let's say I measured, okay, against 20, only 18 villages, got the water and with the appropriate quantity. Now that is the subject matter information. Whatever outcome it is there, after comparison, the outcome is your subject matter information. So this is how subject matter criteria and subject matter information works. I hope I have cleared it out, Mancha. Any further doubt, guys? Any further doubts? Okay. If no further doubts, should we should we proceed to the next chapter, or is anyone having doubts in this chapter? Just tell me frankly, how many of you have read this whole chapter? I know some. I received some feedback on chapters material that it was good. Okay, people got understanding. But how many of you have actually read the whole chapter? After my last lecture, how many of you went and read whole chapter? Frankly, like I just want to understand, okay, how many of you actually went and read the chapter so that I can understand, okay, you might be having a doubt, you might not having a doubt, or am I, teaching so much excellent that you don't have any doubts? Okay, Mancha, that's great. Okay, okay, Charu, no issues, perfectly fine. At least something is better than nothing. Okay, so yeah, if you have read it partially, some portion, I would say still better because it's something is better than nothing. So I would suggest everyone please devote your time after the lecture, read the module, read the study material. Trust me, whatever I'm teaching over here, you will get a good understanding of both the practical experience that I'm showing you here and the wordings that are written in the module. You will be able to correlate, you will be able to understand, and that will really, really help. Okay. Okay, if no further doubts pertaining to this particular chapter, let's move to the next one. So next chapter, very important one that we need to discuss today, that is chapter number 16 on internal audit, and my favorite one. Okay, chapter 16, internal audit. What we are going to learn in this chapter? Number one, what is internal audit? That understanding we will gather. Number two, provisions relating to internal audit in Companies Act. Okay. Number three, internal audit reporting, drafting. Okay. We will learn some portions on the internal audit trail and how internal audit and external audit play together an important role. Number four, we will be learning on the internal auditing standards issued by ICAI. Okay. Before I proceed and before I start discussion, how many of you know what is internal audit? Can anyone tell me what do you understand by the term internal audit? What do you understand by the term internal audit? What do you understand by the term internal audit? Anyone? Am I audible? Come on, guys. What do you understand by the term internal audit? Okay. Good, Sumit. What else? Come on, guys. What else? Okay. So it's checking of controls and policies through which company is operating. Okay. Conduct by staff concurrently with the business operations, more focus on internal controls. Okay. Management way of keeping themselves updated. Okay. Internal audit is done by internal auditors who is appointed by the board in that checking of their affairs so that they can make necessary changes before the statutory audit. The inter audit report is submitted to the directors. Okay. Evaluating internal controls, in-depth understanding of entity business process, policies. Okay, very good. Yes. All these things, yes. But no, also, I'll tell you. So, internal audit, it's not only restricted in nowadays to, what I say, uh, your, internal controls, policies, and all those stuff. So, internal audit is not only as of now restricted to that particular stuff. Yes, earlier internal audit was, somewhere developing. So I would say, people were understanding, okay, what is internal audit and how it is working. But nowadays, no. Nowadays, internal audit has expanded a lot. Okay. It's not only related to basically, you will say, only internal controls, policies, and, uh, some checking which is done by the auditors. So second line of defense. No, it's not like that way. Okay, but when I talk about internal audit a vast area as of now. It covers the okay, it covers monitoring of internal controls, no doubt. It covers review of compliance with laws and regulations because with passage of time, more laws and regulations are now applicable to entities. So because uh, today that a entity being in India can even easily provide services outside India. So the way laws and regulations are applicable have that particular trend has increased. Okay, so review of laws and regulations. Okay, financial things, operational things is there. It's not something new which is not which was not there. It is there already. Over and above that, okay, over and above that, risk management is something that is, I would say has expanded a lot with respect to internal audit. What is risk management? I'll just give you a glimpse. Okay. When we talk about risk management, we usually say, okay, it's a financial risk. So internal audit does a financial risk assessment, and based on that, they do the checking. But that is not the case. It's not only the financial risk that is being, targeted in internal audit. Okay, it is a lot of different kind of risk nowadays being brought into the purview of internal audit. Various kind of. Okay, it can be credit risk, liquidity risk. A lot of different kind of risks are right now being brought into the framework of internal audit. Then, if I talk about operating activities, earlier it was only review of operational activities with respect to finance in the picture, like okay, how it is impacting my financial position. Nowadays, more than financial impact, the quality of the operations, the the way the operations are conducted, all those things are kept into picture. All those things are also considered while someone is there in the internal audit. Then after that, you can say governance is a very important role again for the internal audit. What is governance? Basically, governance is kind of looking for compliance with the internal policies, with the internal guidelines that has been issued by the company. Governance is kind of, let's say, for example, company has decided a goal, a mission, okay, has some values. So compliance with those values, moving towards that goal, achieving that, vision or mission is kind of a governance. Okay. Whether company is, or the functions of company are working in a way that is, aligned to the vision and mission of the particular particular entity. For example, if a company, okay, wants to be a best IT company, okay, but right now also, today also, that company does not implement or accept IT environment so easily, then there is a problem with respect to the activities of the company and the value and the mission that company holds. So governance is a very big term. Okay. So it's not only restricted to a particular, looking for the things which the state auditor is going to look. No, it is beyond that. Okay. So by this way, today internal audit scope has expanded. Now, why we are learning this? Always we should have this question, why we are learning this? What is the need of this topic? The need of this topic is the prime person driving internal audit, or the main person driving internal audit, is a chartered accountant. That is Chief Internal Audit Officer. Okay. Chief Internal Audit Officer. So every corporate, every company has a Chief Internal Audit or Internal Auditor. Okay. If I and that, in most of the cases, I'll say 95 to 100% cases, those are chartered accountants. We are responsible in driving the internal audit function in an organization. And we can only do that once we know what is the internal audit. Okay. We can only do once we are aware what is internal audit, what kind of assurance we provide in internal audit. Okay. Now let's talk about one of a particular area in internal audit, that is, monitoring of internal controls. And some of you told me that, in internal audit, what happens is testing is done. Okay. Now, when testing is done, so what kind of assurance do you think internal audit team provides? Reasonable assurance, limited assurance, okay, or which kind of assurance the internal audit team is providing after testing? What do you think? Okay, Jyoti, very good. Very good, Namrata. Very good, Sumit. Very good, Charu. Most of you have answered reasonable assurance. Okay. But that is not correct. Not means reasonable assurance is not wrong, but also not correct. Reason because whenever internal audit comes into the picture, we again restrict our thinking with respect to the assurance engagement. It's not restricted to the assurance engagement only. It could be agreed upon procedures, it could be limited assurance procedures, it could be anything. It could be detailed analysis also. So if I say that internal audit does only, reasonable assurance engagement, that is wrong. That is a thing that, we need to understand over here, that, okay, it is not restricted to one reasonable assurance engagement. The assurance framework of internal audit depends upon a lot of things. Okay. Whereas internal audit assignment can only on upon the summary observations, can be upon the agreed upon procedures, can be with respect to statutory filing, compliance report, can be consulting or advisory. Have you heard anywhere that okay, internal audit is providing advisory services or consulting service within the organization to that company? Have you heard that? Before mergers and acquisitions, most of the corporate reach out to their internal audit function and they provide all the details of mergers and acquisition to them, and they ask, is there something in this particular transaction which stops us from not proceeding as per your opinion? So internal audit team scans the all the details and they provide their advisory how they should structure, what are the things they should change in their particular M&A transaction. Secondly, when drafting the policies and procedures, let's say the company is drafting their account receivable policies, okay, or policy with respect to revenue recognition, they send the draft policies to the internal audit to ask their opinion or advisory on that. Not all assignments with respect to the internal audit are restricted to the assurance engagement. No, there could be advisory services, there could be consulting services. ESG, one of the important topic we will see now. Over there also, internal audit plays an important role in conducting in-house ESG audits upon ESG reporting done by the company. So internal audit does the in-house ESG audit also. So think the way internal audit is expanding, its, horizon, I would say nowadays. A new horizon, I would say, is a data privacy. Again, internal audit plays an important role again over there with respect to when I say compliance with laws and regulations, it includes data privacy laws. It includes ESG laws and requirements. At multiple, whenever I say law, regulation, anything, internal audit is a strategic partner of the company. Trusted advisor, you can say. So it's not restricted to a one particular area. That is, we need to understand throughout this chapter. Okay. Yes, Mancha. Very good. Very correct. Now, as you already know, or if you, there is section 138 in under Companies Act. Okay, which requires some companies to have basically internal audit function within the organization. Can anyone tell me what that section 138 says and which companies are enrolled or part of that particular section? Means which companies are required to maintain internal audit function as per section 138? If anyone knows this particular part, section 138 of Companies Act, which companies are within the scope of section 138? Okay, good Mancha, yes. Which companies are part or fall under the purview of section 138 who are required to appoint an internal auditor? The class or classes of companies required to appoint an internal auditor under section 138?
Sorry, I don't understand.
Come on, guys. Very good, Mohammed. Very good, Mancha. Namrata. What else? This is only one class of company that you are referring to. There are multiple class of companies. There are multiple class of companies, guys. Come on, quickly, guys. This is only one class of company that you are referring as of now. Okay, listed companies. One class of company is there. So the classes of companies specified under Rule 13. Under Rule 13, okay, of Companies Accounts Rule. Okay, is one such class is listed entities. Okay, what else? Very good, Jyoti. Second is unlisted public companies. Instead of entities, I'll use the term companies. Unlisted public companies. Third, companies having paid up share capital of 50 CR or more. Companies having paid up share capital of 50 CR or more, and that is during preceding financial year of preceding financial year. Then company having turnover of 200 CR or more. Again, during preceding financial year. Third, company, okay, having outstanding loans or borrowings, okay, or from public financial institutions or bank both exceeding 100 CR, okay, at any point during previous financial year. Okay, if these conditions are satisfied, then this unlisted public company will fall under the purview of your Rule 13. Then this unlisted public company will fall under the purview of Rule 13. Now, the important question comes is that whether this is and or the conditions. Any of the conditions should get satisfied or all of the conditions should get satisfied for this particular case. Is this and all the conditions should be satisfied, or kind of, that any one of the condition gets satisfied? What is the one? And or? Is this and or this one? Which one is the case in this? Very good, Namrata. Very good, Abhishek. Yes, guys, this is not and. Sorry. In all the cases, it is or this one, or this one, or this one. Okay. Any of the condition is that if it is getting satisfied, any one, in that case, the company will fall under the purview of Rule 13. So listed company, every unlisted company, every unlisted public company having these categories, okay, these conditions getting satisfied. Now, third is every private company, but again, subject to certain conditions. Having number one, turnover. Okay, company having turnover more than 200 crore rupees. Okay, during preceding financial year. Second, company having outstanding loans or borrowings. Now here, bank and public financial institutions both are included, that should be exceeding 100 CR during any time preceding financial year. Okay, these are the two categories where every private company, again, now this is or. So these are the two categories where every private company falling under this particular any of the category will be required to comply with section 138 or rule 13. So if a private limited company has a turnover more than 200 CR, then yes, it will fall under the category of companies mentioned under section 138, and they will be required to appoint internal auditor or internal audit officer. Again, this is or. So you have three type of companies. Listed, by default, everything is covered. Unlisted public companies, only unlisted public companies getting, satisfying these three criteria. Any of the three criteria. Private limited, satisfying any of the two criteria. So the paid up share capital criteria is not there in the private company. Is not there in the private limited company. Oh, yeah, private company. Okay. So in some places, you will see with the loan says that at any point during preceding financial year with preceding financial year, or in other cases, you will see that during preceding financial year. Okay. So there is a difference between both, and we need to understand that difference in detail. I will show you one question. We will solve one question, and on the basis of that, okay, we will be able to understand whether what is the difference with any point in time with preceding any point in time during preceding financial year and preceding financial year. Okay, normal preceding financial year. Okay, and with the limits. So we will have these clarities. Okay, once we'll solve the question. Let me share. Just a minute. Okay, let us see this one question. ABC Private Limited had the following figures for the financial year 31st March 2022 and 31st March 2023. Loan as on 31st March 2023, Bank A, Bank B. Paid up share capital on 31st March 23, 55 CRs. Paid up share capital on 31st March 22, 45 CRs. Turnover during preceding turnover for the period ending 31st March 23, 186 CRs. Turnover for the period ending 31st March 22, 177 CRs. Kindly guide ABC Limited, okay, with respect to the requirement of class of companies that are required to appoint internal auditor as per the provisions of Companies Act. One thing I just want to have a clarification over here. It's a ABC Private Limited. Okay, ABC Private Limited. Now you tell me whether this company will fall under the category of that section 138 companies or not. Yedu Kondalu, I have specifically kept this point. There is something I want to discuss on that point. That's why I have not, included as of now. So tell me about this private limited company over here. Okay, very good, Mohammed. Very good, Mancha. Very good, Namata. Sumit. So the category is private limited company, and for private limited company, I told you two particular key what do you say conditions: 200 CR turnover, outstanding loan 100 CR. Okay, 200 CR turnover and outstanding loan 100 CR. So my turnover is less than 200 CR. Fine. And outstanding loan. As of now, there is no detail of the loan as on 31st March 22. Okay. No details has been given on 31st March 22. With respect to the loan, it is, I need to check 100 CR or more at any point of time during preceding financial year. So preceding financial year details are not given. Okay, with respect to the loan, based on that, I can say it will not be applicable. Okay, let's say I'll add up one detail over here. That's why I kept it purposefully a line open. I'll say loans as on 30 September 2022. Loans as on 30 September 2022. Rupees 120 crores. And okay, by the time it reached 31st March 23, all were paid before 31/3/22. No, just a minute. Well, this is not 22, this is 21. Okay. So loans as on 30 September 2021 was 120 CRs. All were paid before 31st March 22. Okay. All were paid. That's why you have a zero balance as on 31st March 22. So I would say zero balance on 31 March 22. Now tell me whether the conditions, based on the given conditions that I have changed, whether it is applicable or not. Now tell me, based on the given details, whether it is applicable or not. I added one detail over here. The loan as on 31st September 2021. Come on, guys. Do you think with the revised conditions, it is there, it will be applicable or not? Correct, Sumit. Correct, Mansha. Correct, Charu. Okay, Viraj. Correct, Namrata. Correct, Mohammed. Yes, very good. Okay. Now, based on the given conditions, the condition said that any point in time during preceding financial year, although all the loans have become zero at the end of financial year, but during the year on 39/2021, loans were there, which were more than, these loans were more than 100 CR. As a result, in the current scenario, based on given conditions, yes, internal auditor is required to be appointed in financial year 22-23. So based on this detail, I will appoint internal auditor in financial year 22-23. So that's the difference between any point during preceding financial year and at the end of preceding financial year, or during preceding financial year. Because loans can increase or decrease, but with respect to the turnover, they will only increase. It never happens that okay, your total turnover in September is 100 CR, and in after 3 months it got decreased to 50 CR. No, it will increase only. Cumulative turnover will always increase, but loans are the balance. That's why they may increase, they may decrease. That's why for the loans we check at any point during preceding financial year. But for the turnover, we check, okay, what is the total turnover during the preceding financial year? Clear? So loan outstanding is nil at the end of the year is not relevant. If during at any point in time in the year, if they are exceeding the limit of 100 CR, yes, the particular category will, the section will be applicable to this particular company, because it says that any point in time during preceding financial year. Period ending means during the year, and at any point is only for the loans. And there is one more thing that I have kept specifically for deposits. Okay, that will be at any point in time during preceding financial year. Okay, now coming back to our discussion of application of internal audit, I purposefully kept one detail out in unlisted public companies. I purposefully kept one detail so that I can explain what is any point in time. Now, loans and deposits, loans and outstanding deposits. So the next condition for this one is outstanding deposits, that is more than 25 CR or more, basically, Now that is again at any point in time during preceding financial year. Why I kept this condition left? Reason because I just wanted to explain the difference between during financial year at any point, at any point of time during preceding financial year. So these both conditions, this one and this one, they are at any point. Okay. They are required to be checked at any point. The way we are checking loans at any point in time, we are required to check deposit at any point in time. Because it's a public company, it can accept deposits subject to certain conditions. Same way, if they are accepting deposits more than 2500 CR or 25 CR, okay, in that case, we the particular section will be applicable. So again, I have to see outstanding balance of deposits. Okay. Now there is one question. Apart from this mandatory category, is it that company can appoint voluntarily also? Yes, for sure. There is no harm in appointing voluntarily. You can appoint. Okay. So this is rule 13 with respect to listed companies and private companies, unlisted, listed and private companies. Now coming to next part, that is again with respect to discussion of the rule 13 is who can be appointed as internal internal auditor. Who can be appointed as an internal auditor when the conditions of rule 13 are satisfied. Is there any qualification criteria? Is there any qualification criteria? So who can be appointed as an internal auditor? Who can be appointed internal auditor, guys? Is there any criteria for that? Come on. Come on, guys. Is there any criteria? Okay. Yes, Sumit. Okay, Mancha. What else? Okay, I give you option. You tell me whether I can appoint these people as an internal auditor or not. So these are the options. You tell me whether I can appoint it or not. Mr. X, a practicing chartered accountant. Okay. A practicing CA. Mr. Z, Mr. Z, he's a CA, but not having certificate of practice. Then Mr. M, okay, he is the he has done MBA in finance and has knowledge of audit. Okay. Mr. K, who has done masters in accounting from you can say a good foreign university, for example. Okay, I'll just write foreign university. Okay, and Mr. Z. Okay, not Mr. Z. It will be a repetition. Let's say Mr. J, freshly qualified, freshly qualified uh, individual. Okay, then you have a XYZ and company charter accountants, a CA firm, A&D advisories, yeah, A&D advisors, A&D advisors private limited. Again, a company providing internal audit services. Then you have JPK LLP. Okay, not a CA firm, not a CA LLP, but other professionals like cost accountant or CS, or all other professionals are there in this. So out of these, who can be appointed as an internal auditor? So I have this option: Mr. X, Mr. Z. Okay, X is there, Z is there, M, K, J, XYZ and company, and advisors private limited, JKP LLP. So you tell me which can be appointed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of these 8, who can be appointed as an internal auditor and who cannot be? Not CA. It's a freshly qualified means bachelor's. Come on, guys. Who can be appointed? Very good, Abhishek. Okay, Sumit. Very good, Charu. Very good, Abhishek. Yes. Who cannot be appointed? You need to give answers of both. Who can be appointed and who cannot be appointed. Come on, guys. Who can be appointed as a practicing, who can be appointed as an internal auditor, and who cannot be appointed? Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Who can be appointed and who cannot be appointed? It is pretty much easy, trust me, with respect to the provisions that you are, uh, you know, as given the provisions are, there is not much, what do you say, complexity involved in respect to the person that who should be appointed or not. Trust me, it is pretty much easy on that particular part. Okay, so as per the provisions, okay, as per the provisions, I can appoint Mr. X, who is a practicing CA. I can appoint Mr. Z, who is not a practicing CA. I can appoint Mr. N, Mr. K, Mr. J, XYZ, A and D, JKP. I can appoint all. I can appoint all. Now, why? The reason because the provision itself. Okay, what the provision says that the classes of such class of companies shall require to appoint internal auditor who shall either, okay, be a chartered accountant or a cost accountant or such other professional as may be decided by board, okay, to conduct internal audit. Okay, to conduct internal audit uh, and the functions and activity of the company. Now here the term CA is defined, the term CS is defined. Okay, sorry, cost accountant is defined, but the term professional is not defined. So this term basically professional, other professional is not defined. Number two, this is the section itself. Okay, this is the section itself. Now, if I talk about Rule 13, it says that, following class of company shall appoint internal auditor, but which may be either an individual or a partnership, firm, or a body corporate. Plus, over and above this, okay, need to add pages. Over and above this, Rule 13 prescribes that the term chartered accountant or cost accountant means uh, whether engaged in practice or not. So both are allowed. CA and CS, CA and cost accountant, both can be in practice or not. Moreover, it says that internal auditor may not be employee of company. So if you see these conditions, like cannot be an employee, can be any other such professional which is not defined, but that professional can be decided by board. If tomorrow board decides I need to appoint this person, they can appoint it, fine. Okay. It can be individual, partnership firm, it can be a body corporate. Okay. It can be a practicing or not. Okay. It can be an employee or not. Okay. So all the conditions are, all the provisions are in such a way that anyone can be appointed the internal auditor. Okay. But again, whenever a company appoints an internal auditor, the board take a rational decision whom they are appointing. Although the provision is open, the decision making, the rational decision making is something, is required to be exercised by the board in the current scenario. So everyone can be appointed. Basically, everyone is, can be appointed. But as I told you, in majority of the cases, the chief internal auditor is a chartered accountant. So over there, the rational decision making of the board comes into the picture. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Any doubt till now? No? Okay. Very good question. And that I was expecting. Internal auditor may not be an employee of the company. Let's say if it is he the employee of the or she is the employee of the company. In that case, the question comes is if internal auditor is employee of company, then can he be called as independent internal auditor? Can you know? Can he be called or she be called as an independent internal auditor if she is an employee? What about the independence if they are the employee? Come on, guys. What about the independence if they are the employees? Okay. Very good, Mancha. Okay, Sumit. Okay, Namrata. Okay. Now the question comes is there independence requirement? From here, I derive another question that whether is there any independence requirement? Whether any independence requirement is applicable. So the answer to this is yes. I'll tell you. Okay. You might not be aware. That is perfectly fine. And that is something enumerated in Standards on Internal Auditing issued by ICAI. If you see basic principles of internal auditing itself, the first and foremost principle talks about independence. Okay. The internal auditor shall be free from any undue influence which force him to deviate from the truth. The independence shall not only be in the mind, but also in the appearance, the way it is applicable to an external auditor. Internal auditors are also required to resist undue pressure, interference from any of the authority within the organization in establishing their scope or assignment, or the in establishing their plan for the audit. So internal audit or internal audit function as a whole is required to be independent as per the standards on internal auditing, and that is applicable to a chartered accountant. Now, how will you fulfill that when you are an employee of an company? How will you fulfill that? Come on, guys. How will you ensure that? Okay, Namrata, very good. Yes, Mancha, that is the question. Sumit, it can be, it is possible. And we have already discussed this topic. Trust me, we have already discussed this topic, that how internal auditors, being an employee, can be independent. Come on, guys, think where we have discussed this one. We have already discussed this, not something not new that we are discussing again, but we have already discussed this topic. We have already discussed this topic. This is something not new that we are discussing. Anyone? Anyone? And the answer to this, basically, okay, question lies under, or it is, already discussed when we were discussing SA 610. When we were discussing SA 610, we discussed about what topic? That is using the work of internal auditors, correct? Over there, over there, we understood that in certain cases, okay, in certain cases, it is permissible for an external auditor to rely upon the work performed by internal auditor. Over there, one of the conditions where we can determine in which areas, to what extent internal audit functions work can be used. So, to determine in what areas internal audit function or internal audit functions work can be used, okay, to determine in what areas internal audit functions work can be used, okay, and to what extent external auditor external auditor was, or external auditor is required to evaluate the internal audit function. And when I talk about evaluation, it's not only evaluation with respect to, function, but it respect to the objectivity, independence, and everything. So this evaluation is a key to identify whether internal audit can be an independent or not, being an employee. And there was conditions given that are was supposed to be checked. Okay, there were conditions given which were supposed to be checked. First was organizational status. Means to whom they report. Okay, how they decide their procedures, policies, organizational status, policies, procedures. Okay, and how much they support to their objectivity. For example, are they reporting directly to the board of directors or audit committee, or they are reporting to CFO and then CFO is allowing them to discuss whatever points he wants. Whether they are where they are reporting, where there is hierarchy of reporting is, that defines a very important and crucial point with respect to independence and objectivity. Level of competency. How much competent internal audit function is. Third, use of systematic and disciplined approach. Okay, and that includes quality control. Okay, if internal audit function, objectivity, and organizational status is such that it supports the independence, they are competent, they are using systematic and disciplined approach with respect to the function, their audits, they are maintaining quality. Yes, in those scenarios, you can say that internal audit is independent. So that, we can count internal audit independent to certain extent, and then the work of internal audit can be relied by the external auditors. So the independence requirement of internal audit somewhere is linked with SA 610. When an external auditor decides whether to rely upon the work of internal auditor or not, he evaluates whether the internal audit function is independent or not. He evaluates whether the internal audit function is independent enough, whether they are competent enough, objectivity is being maintained. The way external auditors determine the independence of internal auditor, same way you can also determine. And those things are required to be considered when we are considering the independence of internal auditor. Clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? All other things of SE 610 are relevant. That is, if external auditor uses the work of internal auditor, then what is required to be included in the documentation? Okay. What is the role of external auditor when they are required, when they are using the work of internal auditor with respect to the documentation part? Then they need to understand, okay, how much they can rely upon the work performed by the internal auditor, in which areas they cannot use the work of internal auditor. Okay, all these areas are there, but this does not stop internal auditor from performing the work in those areas where external auditor cannot rely. Can anyone tell me certain areas where the external auditor cannot rely upon the work of internal auditor? Yes, Namrata, private company can be internal auditor of a listed company unless and until, what do you say, the board agrees to appoint them. Which are the areas where external auditor cannot rely upon the work performed by internal auditor? We have discussed this in SA 610. What are those areas, guys? Come on. Which are those areas where external audit function, external auditors cannot rely upon the work performed by internal audit function? Come on, guys. Very good. Very good, Charu. Very good, Namrata. So there are certain areas. Okay. For example, I will just write it here. We have discussed already this one where more judgment is involved. Okay. More judgment is involved in planning or evaluating the audit evidence. Higher the assessed risk of material misstatement. Okay. Where internal audits functions evaluation does not permit. Kind means level of competency, organizational support, everything is there. Okay, it does not permit. So over there, external auditor shall use less work of internal auditor. Okay, here external auditor shall use less work of internal auditor. Fine, we have learned this way, but this does not stop internal auditor from performing testing or work in those areas. External auditor may not rely, but that should not be a point where, because because of which internal auditor says, okay, we will not perform because external auditor is not relying. No, these areas are there where internal auditor or external auditor shall not rely. But this does not stop internal auditor from performing work in those areas. So these areas are there, but they are for the external auditor. Okay. So external auditor should avoid, not the internal auditor. So some people get confused. Okay, internal auditor is not required to perform work in areas where there is more judgment. No, it's not like that way. External auditor shall not place reliance, but this does not stop internal auditor from performing that work. Are you getting my point? Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Any doubt? If no further doubts, let's take a quick 10-minute break. After the break, we'll gather back and continue the session. Okay, let's take a quick 10-minute break. the session. So what we were discussing? We were discussing about the internal audit. We were discussing about how external auditor can rely on the work performed by internal audit function, where an external auditor can rely upon the work that is performed by the internal auditor and where he should not rely. Okay. Again, so 3 points, 3 areas where external auditor shall not rely. One, where there is more judgment involved. Second, where there is a higher risk of material misstatement. Third, where internal audit functions evaluation does not permit. And which evaluation I'm talking about? I'm talking about this evaluation. This evaluation, if does not permit in external auditor to rely upon the work of internal auditor, then external auditor shall not rely. Okay, clear till this point? So we discussed about the integrity, we discussed about the objectivity, independence, we discussed about, how and when external auditor can rely upon the work performed by internal auditor. We discussed essay, some portions of XA 610. Now, the important point that I want to discuss about the scope of internal audit function. What is the basic scope? And, we want to let's understand that in detail, the scope of internal audit function. Okay, scope of internal audit function that we need to understand in detail. Okay, basically when I talk about the scope of internal audit function, it is, as I told you, it's not a one single scope. Okay, it's not restricted to one particular area. It involves, and internal audit function caters to multiple areas. For example, review of internal control systems. Okay, then I'll explain each in detail, don't worry. Second, review of custodianship and safeguarding of asset. Then review of compliance with policies, plan, procedure, and regulation. Plan, policies, procedure, and regulation. Then review of relevance and reliability of information. Then review of organizational structure. Okay. Then we have review of utilization of resources. And the last one is review of accomplishment of goals and objectives. Review of accomplishment of goals and objectives. Okay. Let's remove this one. So these are certain functions of internal audit or scope of work of internal audit function. Now let's understand one by one in detail. Okay. Number one, we have that is review of internal control system and procedures. That is not something new that we are discussing. You have already seen, okay, in audit also that a review of internal control systems. Okay, we do compliance procedure, we do procedures to verify design and operative effectiveness of internal controls. Same way, internal audit also performs similar procedures to review the internal control system. They check for the design and operating effectiveness of these internal controls. Not only that, internal audit plays an important role with respect to the design of internal controls also. Not only they verify the operational effectiveness or design effectiveness, they help as an advisory that how control should be designed so that the design effectiveness at a later point in time should be adhered to. Okay. So they do not only cater once the controls are designed, they cater even before that when the controls, when the management thinks what control to be put into place. They help management in deciding what controls should be there, what controls should look like, okay, how they function, okay, what is the feasibility analysis. So they do feasibility, technical analysis of these controls. For example, I'll give you. How many of you heard about three-way match control with respect to invoicing? PO invoicing, three-way match control. How many of you heard? Anyone? Anyone? No? Okay. So what happened is management wanted to implement three-way match control, that is invoice, GRN, PO matching. Before an invoice can be processed, PO invoice can be processed, management wanted to implement this control. But due to system limitations, ERP limitations, they were not able to implement this control. So internal audit came into picture. They did a technical study, technical analysis that, okay, what will be the cost of system to implement this particular control? Let's say, for example, if you want to automate this control, if you want that, your system, your ERP should perform this control automatically, then what is the cost of ERP? Number one. Number two, how much or how many number of transactions will be processed or will be, how much the control will be performed through this? What will be the frequency? Number three, how much other processes are required to be amended? Okay, so that this control can be implemented fully automatically through ERP. So all that technical analysis, detailed study of the control process, everything was done by internal audit. Internal audit, presented their report to the management. Okay, this is the cost. But this is a benefit after incurring the cost. And this is a change that is required to be brought into the organization and their business processes. Not only the cost, benefit plus change in the organization that is required. And some internal audit functions go beyond that. Not only they will suggest the change, they will also provide how to implement the changes, what will be the issues when implementing the changes, and how to overcome those issues. Understand the detailed level of analysis an internal audit function can done with respect to just one implementation of a control. So review of internal control system is not only one particular thing, it's in a detailed one I'm talking about. Second, review of custodianship and safeguarding of asset. You might have heard about segregation of duties, SOD, that a person, the duties should be segregated between the person. Okay. So segregation of duty checking is also an important part for internal audit. For example, maker checker should not be the same. For example, the person who is, booking the invoice shall not be the same who is the person who is, also creating vendor master, or the person who is booking into the invoice into the system shall not be the same the person issuing payment to that particular invoice. So there are some conflicts, SOD, segregation of duties required in an organization, so that same person should not be maker or checker, or same person should not be given such an authority that he gets a chance to misuse that authority. For example, if I give the person who books invoice authority to issue payments also, what he will do is he will book a fake invoice and he will issue payment in front of that fake invoice. He can do fraud. That's why understanding the custodianship and safeguarding of asset in an organization is very important for internal audit function. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Third, review of compliance with policies, plan, procedure, and regulation. As I already told you that these policies, plan, procedures, regulations are necessary for an enterprise or organization to work efficiently. Okay. As a result, organizations policies are important, and internal audit function are required to see their compliances. So it is imperative for internal audit function to check compliance with these plans, policies, and procedures, because not all the things are governed by the regulations and laws. Some things are also, managed with respect to admin part and internal part with respect to policies within an organization. A simple example I'll tell you, a real life example. So there was a policy in a company that after an employee leaves the organization, the access of that particular organization, access to the ERP systems, IT systems, and every other system shall be removed within 7 working days. Okay. So that was a policy within the company that, once an employee leaves the organization, his access to the ERP shall be removed within 7 working days. Now that's what the policy. As an internal audit function, the function's responsibility was whether this policy is being adhered to or not. For example, let's say in certain cases, if the management was removing access after 30 days, there was a risk that, timely access has not been removed. So the integrity and the authenticity, integrity can get compromised of the systems. Let's say, for example, person leaves an organization. What if using his user ID and password, After leaving the organization, he accesses the ERP system, and if he is able to get the data out of that system, then so there are risks, and for risk, to mitigate those risks, there are policies, and that's why it's the role of internal audit function to review compliance with those policies. Then the next part is a review of relevance and reliability of information. So I have written review of reliability of information and relevance of information. Can anyone tell me what this means? Can anyone tell me what this will cover? What this means? Anyone? If they want to try, come on, guys. What the internal audit will do in review of reliability of information and relevance of information? Come on, guys. What internal audit will do with respect to this? Reliability of information and relevance of information. How that is relevant from the internal audit's point of view. Anyone? Okay, Sumit. But why this is important? See, a function is there. We need to understand what is done in that function. And second point is why that function is important. Why that activity is required to be done. What is the purpose behind that activity? Need for that function. Okay, Namrata, very good. Yes, Sumit, very good. Come on, guys. What is the need of this particular function or this particular area? Okay, Charu. Okay, Jyoti. How many of you heard about the MIS reporting? How many of you have heard about the MIS reporting? Anyone? In MIS reporting, basically the organization prepares the information and submits the information to the management or the board of directors or audit committee. Now, what if I tell you that information is wrong? And what if later on, management comes to know that information which is submitted to us under MIS is not appropriate, not reliable, not relevant? In that case, think the decision making done by the management based on the MIS reporting, how inaccurate the decision making will be. As a result, whatever information is being circulated within the organization and outside the organization is required to be validated, whether that information is relevant or not, whether that information is reliable or not. How many of you heard about CBC, country by country reporting under income tax? Like there is a part A of form 3CAA and part B of form 3CAA. Now, if let's say, for example, you provide wrong information, which is required to be submitted in part A of form 3CAA and form part B of form 3CBB. Hypothetical example I'm giving to you, to them to whom it is applicable, or to whom the country by country reporting is applicable. If they provide wrong information in that particular, forms, what will happen? Think of the wrong consequence of providing wrong information, not only within the organization but outside the organization. That's why it is very important for internal audit function to understand what information is being used, is where it is going and where it is getting generated. See, it may happen that for a particular reporting part outside organization, okay, there is might be a team. Let's say, for example, there is a tax team who are validating the information. But is anyone validating the source of the information? Okay, let's say, for example, revenue, total revenue. So let's say finance team gave total revenue. Okay, total consolidated revenue for the period is this much of amount. Okay, to tax team to check whether they fall under the category to whom this CBC reporting is applicable or not. Okay, I think something is the amount which is there is near to 5 billion INR, something like that way, if I'm not wrong. Okay. Now, if that particular amount is limit is there, and let's say the consolidated revenue exceeds that particular what you say threshold, in that case, this reporting is applicable. Now, this number was given by finance team to the tax team. Tax team, so okay, we are not falling within the category, so we should not, we are not required to report. But in actual, the number calculated by the finance team was incorrect because they used a wrong report. So, wrong report used by the finance team will give wrong number that will be passed on to the tax team. Tax team will take a wrong decision that they will say, okay, this CBC reporting is not applicable to us, and they will not file any form. But when the actual audit will happen, the statutory auditor will, say, okay, no, the total consolidated revenue exceeds the limit. You have done wrong. So why to wait till the time external auditors come and check, okay, whether the information or whether the anything which is circulating within the organization or going outside the organization is correct or not. So internal audit function verifies periodically, the activities performed by other departments with respect to the data they are using. Reliability of the information and relevance of the information is a critical part. Any doubt with respect to this one? Any doubt? Yes, Mancha. Yes, Jyoti. Absolutely correct. Yes, Namrata. Wrong decision will be taken that will affect badly to the business. Absolutely correct. Heavy legal compliances. Absolutely correct, Jyoti. The next part is review of organizational structure. Why do you think this is important? And what internal audit will do in this? Okay, let's discuss this next part. Review of organizational structure. Why do you think it is important and why internal audit function will review this? Come on, guys. Why do you think, internal audit function will review this part or will review this or should review this? Why this is important and what they will do in this particular area? Anyone? Very good. Hierarchy of the information of decision making to understand organizational environment, way of working. Yes, Jyoti, very good. What else? To ensure that the corporate culture is compatible with organizational objectives. Yes. To help form internal audit policies, procedures. Okay. So that can get knowledge about the authority of metrics of the entity, whether same is being followed, any suspicious activity. Yes. Whether objective of organization has been achieved or not. Yes. See, organizational structure is not a small thing. If you have a very complex organizational structure, the entity can end up paying huge amount. How? Reason because the more layers in an organizational structure, the more resources employees will be there, and the more employee cost and everything will be there. Okay. Let's say, for example, you have a very complex organizational structure, very complex. This will not only hinder the information flow within the organization, will also hinder in the collaboration between the teams, which is necessary and required in an organization, in a company. Okay, because a department cannot function alone. So if you have a complex structure, then how teams will interact, collaborate, and perform their day-to-day work? Okay, information flow will be impacted, decision makings will be impacted. Okay, complex structures may lead to delay in critical decision making, which will again cost financially to the companies. Complex organizational structure also makes difficult for internal audit function to check compliance with the policies, procedures, and regulations. For example, if a particular function is divided at different locations, okay, then it becomes difficult for the internal audit function also to review that function in a whole. For example, let's say finance function. So some finance activities are carried in India, some are carried in Singapore, some are carried in Netherlands, some are carried in US. If tomorrow internal audit is asked to review the finance function of an organization, they have to contact the people of all the locations. They need to understand what is done, what is being performed at where, which location. Okay, who is doing what, how they are doing, is there any difference in doing, different leaders of different locations, everything. That's why it's very important to understand and review the organizational structure, that whether it is in line with the objective of the organization or not. Another example, companies having multiple segments. Okay, Now, if they have a multiple segment, if they have a multiple type of businesses, then their teams, their functions will be, different. Their organizational structure will be in such a way that, each function has their own head. So whether such an organization structure exists or not, it's very important to review. It helps understanding whether the company is moving in their direction, the objective that is there or not. Okay. So review of organizational structure is not only limited to review whether, how the structure is, but it is indirectly related to the cost component, indirectly related to the decision making component, indirectly related to the compliance with laws, policies, regulations, everything. Then comes review of utilization of resources. Now, review of utilization of resources kind of, where internal audit function reviews whether, the resources which are available within the organization are being used economically or efficiently or not. Okay. How much resources are being allocated where? What is the use that has been done for those resources? Simple example, if I give you, let's say, with respect to the resources, I'll tell you one resource, for example, license, ERP license. Okay. Now, ERP license is kind of for time being, I'll classify as a resource. Now, let's say company has 10 ERP license, which it can give to anyone within the organization. Okay. Now, ERP license is basically required by person who are making data entry to the ERP. However, the company gave out of 10, 5 license to the tax team, and only 2 license were given to the finance team, whereas the required number of license to the finance team were 7. Now, at that particular point in time, a question comes is whether the use of these license is economical and efficient, whether the allocation is efficient allocation or economical allocation. Does tax team require 5 licenses when they are not passing any entry in the ERP? They only just pull out the data. Is it necessary to give 1 license to each and every team member in the tax team? Or whether we should give 1 license to each and every team member in finance because they are the one who make daily, day in, day out operations, entries. So efficient utilization, allocation of resources is a very necessary in an organization so that they can function efficiently. Okay. And internal audit is when, as I said, they are the trusted advisors of management. As a result, they have a role to review the utilization of resources, whether they are being allocated efficiently, economically, whether there are any norms within the organization which helps in distribution and usage of resources. Okay. Is there any policy within the organization which governs utilization of resources, whether that has been complied or not? So all these things are there. For example, I'll tell you, very good example is computers, laptops. Okay. Each company provide laptop to their employee. Now, company had 100 laptops. Now, the question was that they cannot give laptops to each and every employee. They need to give some employees as a desktop, some employees as a laptop. Now, if an employee has a job where he needs to travel to the multiple locations, and if company decide to give him a desktop, think the situation how we leave with a traveling job and a desktop in the office. And the person who has a full-time office job, desktop, a table job, who has to come, he's supposed to come at a fixed place every day, and company has provided him laptop. So, is there any norms within the organization for the distribution, utilization of the resources, whether these norms are being adhered to or not? This is also being checked by the internal audit. And Devraj, I am not able to receive your query. Says it's coming only, just one word. That is, can you rewrite your query fully so that I can get it? Yes, Yedugonalu. Very good. Access should be given need to do basis. So that is the crux of review of utilization of resource, and that is the internal audit has to check. Clear till now? And last part is the accomplishment of goals and objectives. So whether all the above things, okay, are helping the organization to move towards their goals or objective or not. So monetary, non-monetary, both. Whether organization is achieving their goals or objective or not. That is something internal audit has to review from time to time. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? I'll show you one example. This is one of the annual report and of one of a company, and this is a goal vision of one of a company. Our vision is to deliver winning performance by being leader in the sustainable business. We will demonstrate how our purpose-led future-fit business model drives superior performance, delivering consistent, competitive, profitable, and responsible growth. Now, this is a vision of the company. Okay, so they have some values, enablers, everything is there. Okay, they have a stakeholders over here. Now, internal audit has a role, responsibility that whether the company is moving into this direction only or not, into the direction of vision of their priorities they have set up. So, for example, they have set up that, okay, their strategic priorities, growing the core business, accelerating market development, driving premierizations, okay, improving health of planet, whether the decision making of the company is in this direction or not. Okay, so these are certain goals and achievement of goals and objectives this internal audit has to review. And if I show you something more on this particular line, I'll also show you one more thing in this particular report. See over here. Internal audit, internal control and risk management, where it is written that company has a robust internal audit and enterprise risk assessment and mitigation system. The company has an independent internal audit department assisted by our outsourced audit teams. The internal audit plan is approved by the audit committee. So there is no pressure by any other officer or what you say person within the organizational status that I was talking about. The conduct of internal audit is oriented towards a review of internal control, risk in the company's operation, cover factories, sales office, warehouse, centrally controlled businesses and functions. Every quarter, The audit committee is presented with a summary of significant audit observations and follow-up remediation actions thereon. Okay. So that is with respect to the internal audit they have written about, that how internal audit is playing an important role in an organization. I'll show you something more with respect to the internal audit. See over here. The board of directors, based on the recommendations of the audit committee at their meeting held on 19 July 2022, appointed Ms. Surbhi Malhotra as the internal auditor of the company with effect from July 28th, succeeding this person. So, an internal audit officer has been appointed by the company. So, they also provide that okay, which internal audit officer has been appointed by the company, and that is their part of their annual report also. If I show you more in the annual return itself, same way in Caro, okay, auditors are required to report, okay, that based on the information and explanation provided to us in our audit procedures, in our opinion, the company has an internal audit system commensurating with the size and nature of its business. So in Caro also, external auditor has to report about the internal audit function which is present in an organization. So something, a glimpse that how also these things are, disclosed in the annual return and how they are actually there in the physical or the real life scenario. Any doubt? Sumit, yes, SA 610 governs the external auditor. That how external auditor and when external auditor has to rely upon the work of internal auditor. And for the internal audit, you have a standards on internal audit. Yes, the internal audit of PSU also be can be done by chartered accountant. Namrata, can you just refer which third point? Customer and consumer. So customer is a corporate can be a customer, but a corporate cannot be a consumer. Consumer means end consumer who is consuming the goods or the services lastly. But when I say customer, customer can be a person who is purchasing goods from you and then he is reselling. So he's not a consumer. Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Review of compliance with plan policies and procedures. So whatever plans, policies, procedures are there within an organization, whether the employees, whether the different people in the organization are complying with those plans and policies or procedures, okay, whether they are adhering to those plans and procedures while performing their duties, while discharging their duties, that is the role of internal auditor to look into. So internal audit team will go and will check whether the team, let's say finance team, is complying with the finance policies, revenue recognition policies, accounting policies while doing their accounting entries or whatever it is their function is. So it's a role of internal audit function to review compliance with these plan policies procedures. Any other doubt, guys? Any other doubt? Till now, any doubt? Whatever we have discussed till now. We discuss about the scope. We discuss about various, SA 610. We discuss about who can be internal auditor, independence, Section 138 of Companies Act. Any doubt till now? No? Okay, let's proceed forward. Now, as I told you in one of the report now, that how internal audit submits, okay, their report to the audit committee. Over here, we just now saw this particular part. Every quarter, the audit committee is presented with a summary of significant observations and follow-up remediation action thereon by the internal audit. An internal audit, the conduct of internal audit is oriented towards review of internal controls, risk in the company's operation, and covers factories and sales offices, warehouse centrally controlled by the business operation functions. So that is a review that internal audit performs. But this is the very important part, that's the reporting part, and that we need to understand the reporting. So when I talk about reporting, by internal audit, okay, so there, for us, for as chartered accountant, we have standards on internal auditing, which governs the requirement of reporting. Okay, which governs the requirement of reporting. That is, there are two standards which are applicable in this scenario. One is SIA 370, that is standards on internal auditing, talking about reporting results. Okay. Next is SIA 390, which talks about monitoring and reporting of prior audit issues. Two SIA, very important, SIA 370 and SIA 390, that are very important, which plays a very important role in deciding, the reporting requirement done by a chartered accountant who is an internal auditor. Other than that, normal practice in the scenario, in the industry, is that when it comes to the reporting, internal audit team or internal audit function prepares two type of reports. Okay, and that is the same also covered in our SIA. So there are two type of reportings which happens. Okay, basically, number one is a objective, or you can say assignment based reporting. Okay, when I talk about reporting, so there are two type of reportings. One is a assignment based reporting, or reporting carried after each and every assignment and or at the end of a particular assignment. So assignment based reporting. So after every assignment, a report is prepared and submitted to key stakeholders. Okay, a report is prepared and submitted to a key stakeholders. This includes background about assignment. I'm just giving an overview what that report generally covers. A detailed format I'll cover, in some time. So background about assignment and observations identified. Then comes the recommendations. Very important part. That how to mitigate, how to remediate those observations. Okay. So basically this is, everything is decided during planning phase. Means the format of report is finalized during planning phase of engagement or assignment. Okay, this assignment. Now what happens is, once your engagement or assignment based reporting is done on a quarterly basis or on a periodic basis, a periodic reporting is done. What is periodic reporting? Is nothing but a summary of all assignment based reporting. Usually it is done quarterly, okay, to audit committee. The way I just showed you that, quarterly a report is presented to the audit committee, where summary of observations is provided with a recommendation, remediation, and their monitoring. So what it includes is summary of observation, recommendation, then current status of observation, and the last part is what is the monitoring activity happening behind those observations. See, what happens is, let's say for example, audit happened, observation came out that this policy is not being followed. Recommendation will be given that, okay, within the department, everyone should be made aware about the policy, and continuous monitoring should happen that whether the policy is being followed or not. That was the recommendation. But someone actually has to go and check whether the policy is then being followed or not. Once an observation was given, recommendation is given, is actually the recommendation being complied or implemented? Is anyone within the organization is checking whether on a continuous basis whether the policy is being followed or not? So what is the current status of the observation? That still there is a non-compliance, or the now team has understood, okay, now they have to comply with the policy, so they have done away with the non-compliance, or they are now falling, they are now complying with the policy. So what is the current status, and who is doing the monitoring? Whether internal audit is doing the monitoring, have they went again to check whether the observation is closed or open still, whether the team is following the policy or not. So summary of observation, recommendation, current status of the observation and monitoring activity that is happening. And this monitoring activity, basically, in other words, is also known as a follow-up audit. Monitoring and reporting of prior audit issues, which is governed by, basically, I just now told you, SIA 390 that we discussed now. Monitoring and reporting of prior audit issues is nothing but the monitoring activity that is done. Clear? So there is a question, do we need to learn all standards on internal auditing? Answer is no. In your syllabus, whatever is there is in your study material. That's the only thing you need to learn. And over there is a description about, there is a detail about SIA 370, 390, and something about SIA 220 with respect to the independence and objectivity of the internal audit. That's it. That what we have discussed till now. Apart from that, there is nothing much, okay, with respect to the SIA, and whatever is there in your scope or study material is the final one. So these two type of reporting happens, assignment based and then summary of assignment based. That's a periodic reporting. And that's a common practice norm also within the industry. Now, apart from this, there is a format of internal audit report. The way we have SA 700, same way we have a SIA 370, which describes that what should be part or what should be there in your audit report, internal audit report. So SIA 370 prescribes minimum or key elements that should be there in IA report. Those are: one, an overview of the objectives, scope, and approach of the audit assignment. Second, fact that internal audit has been conducted as per standards on internal auditing. The way we write about normal audit, that the audit has been conducted as per the standards issued by ICAI, same way for the internal audit. Third, executive summary of key observations. Covering all important aspects. Do you know what is the logic behind executive summary? So the executive summary was derived or was brought into for the people or the executives of the when I say executives, is a kind of chief executive officer or chief of people in the organization, like board of directors or something. So it was brought for them that if they want to glance quickly about the report, what is a summary of everything of the pages that is behind, for them it was, this particular section was originally implemented, that the executive summary will give a crisp summary, okay, which is important, which covers all the important points also, to the executive or to the top management or board of directors, who is, who doesn't have that much time to read the whole detailed report. That was the purpose actually behind the executive summary, invention of the executive summary. Then you have a summary of key corrective actions required for each observation. And last one is the nature of assurance, if any, because not all the reports, not all the assignments are assurance based. Nature of assurance, which can be derived from observation or which can be derived here. Like what kind of assurance engagement we have done, whether it's a agreed upon procedure, reasonable assurance, limited, or what kind of assurance engagement it is there. And that is as per SIA 110. Don't worry, SIA 110 is, I think, is not there in much detail in your module. So don't worry about, going and reading all in detail. But if you have a time, you can go anytime, read in that those SIAs. Okay, so this is key elements that should be there in the internal audit report. These are the key elements. Clear? Any doubt? So whatever is covered in your study material, that is the thing that you need to refer to. Not more than that. Any doubts? Any doubts till now? Any doubt, guys? So in your study material, you have a list of standards that are there. Okay. If you want, you can refer to. Okay. If you have a time, I would suggest, if you have a time, please try to glance to those standards. You will get a good clarity about the topic. Also, if I just show you quickly about that. Okay. So these are the standards. As of now, these standards are recommendatory in nature. Okay. The standards shall become mandatory from such date as notified by the council. So once the council will notify these standards, then it will become mandatory to comply with. Okay. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt till now? You need to refer auditing pronouncements. Whatever auditing pronouncements are there, you can go on the website of of your study material, and you can check from there also. They are the auditing pronouncements which are applicable. Okay, which are the auditing pronouncements that are applicable to you. I'll just show you quickly if I have. A minute. So these are the auditing pronouncements which are applicable to you. These are the SA, SQC, okay, SA 710, 800 series, SAE, SRE, or SRS. These are the ones which are applicable, which are available on the website. If you go to your study material, I'll just show you quickly. Okay, this is the BOS ICAI website homepage. Go to study material, new scheme. Go to final. Go to English medium. Okay, paper 3. You have a module 3. Click on module 3. You will go just see below auditing pronouncements. Click on that. All the pronouncements will be applicable in front of you that are applicable. Now, SIA, to the extent they are given in your study material in the module in chapter 16, to that extent only they are applicable. Clear? Any doubt? To the extent they are in your study material, you need to refer to the SIA. Namrata, it is not upon the decision of the management. See, what happens is they both are done because assignment wise reporting is done, which is necessary, and what you say, periodic report is also done. So they both are done together. So once assignment wise is done, after a quarter, they prepare a summary, and that summary reporting is also done to the audit committee. So no one decide, but there is a custom or industry standard that follows these things, that the both reporting happen. Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Uh, completed listing, Viraj, means you have completed the reading or the listing. Like, can you just explain a bit, please? Completed listing means you're talking about the reading all the study material. Okay, understood. Listening. Okay, that's great. Okay, that's great. Very good. Very good use of technology. So you have completed listening of all the study material using PDF reader. Very good. Very good. So quick way to read the study material. Yes. Any other doubt, guys? Any other doubt? No doubts? Okay, guys. So I suggest please read the chapter in detail. That is necessary. I will again repeat, please read. There is no alternative of reading the study material. No summary charts, no short forms, nothing will help you if you will not read. Trust me. No color books, nothing will help you until you read the study material. Trust me, that is sufficient what is given in your study material. You don't need any other book. You don't need any other material. Please read. Please go through this study material. It's very, very important. Okay. If you have doubts, you can also ask in the next lecture. There is no problem. Read this particular chapter. In the next lecture, I will be starting chapter number 17, which will be covering in the same chapter, same lecture. I will suggest if you have time, please read that chapter well in advance, because we will cover 3 topics, very important one: due diligence, investigation, and forensic audit. Okay. So please read both the chapters if possible, please. Okay, guys. So if no doubts, then thank you. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.